Tensions escalate in West Asia as Iran defies Trump's calls for surrender, warning of dire consequences akin to Saddam Hussein's fate. Israel issues threats while Trump remains ambiguous about potential military action. The situation evolves rapidly with missile launches and international responses, highlighting the precarious balance of power in the region. What are the implications of Iran's defiance against the U.S.? How does the Saddam Hussein parallel affect Iran's leadership? What role does Russia play in the Iran-Israel conflict? West Asia is experiencing a critical and escalating conflict involving military threats and geopolitical tensions, particularly between the U.S., Israel, and Iran. This situation marks a significant turning point in regional history that could lead to major consequences. Donald Trump's ambiguous statements about the possibility of military action highlight the unpredictability of U.S. involvement. His approach raises concerns about the potential for a broader conflict in the region. Iran's defiance against U.S. pressure is evident, as they firmly reject any notion of surrender and express readiness for intensified conflict. This bold stance signals a potential escalation in hostilities. International responses to the conflict include Russia's offer to mediate between Iran and Israel, indicating the complexity of global alliances. The involvement of major powers adds another layer of tension to the situation. Current tensions between Israel and Iran have escalated dramatically, marked by missile attacks and cyber warfare. The unfolding situation raises critical questions about military strategies and potential retaliation. Iran has launched hypersonic missiles targeting Israel, indicating a significant escalation in military capabilities and intentions. This shift could alter the dynamics of the ongoing conflict. Israel's cyber attacks have reportedly crippled Iranian banks, showcasing the impact of technology in modern warfare. This highlights a new front in the conflict beyond traditional military engagements. Donald Trump's potential involvement in the conflict raises concerns about future U.S. foreign policy and military action. His comments suggest a complex interplay of negotiation and aggression. Israel draws a parallel between Iran's current situation and Saddam Hussein's downfall to emphasize the consequences of not negotiating. They warn Iran that failure to comply may lead to a similar fate. The U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003 quickly led to Saddam Hussein's regime collapse, symbolized by the iconic statue's fall. This historical context is crucial for understanding current tensions. Saddam Hussein's capture in a spider hole in 2003 marked the beginning of his downfall. The later trial and execution highlight the severe consequences for brutal dictators. Dramatic imagery from Saddam Hussein's execution serves as a powerful reminder of the potential fate awaiting leaders who resist international pressure. Israel uses this to send a clear message to Iran. Israel's parallel between Saddam Hussein and Iran's supreme leader aims to provoke the Iranian populace and signal a potential threat to their leadership. This strategic messaging is crucial in the context of regional tensions and nuclear concerns. The comparison between Saddam Hussein and the Iranian leadership highlights Israel's strategy to instill fear and encourage dissent among the Iranian people. This approach reflects ongoing geopolitical dynamics. Iran's supreme leader exercises absolute control over military, judiciary, and nuclear policy, raising alarms for the U.S. and Israel regarding nuclear ambitions and regional security. This consolidation of power is a significant concern. The ongoing nuclear threat from Iran is compounded by its support for militant groups like Hezbollah and Hamas, creating a multifaceted challenge for Israel and the United States in the region. This complicates diplomatic efforts. Addressing the nuclear threat from Iran is a complex issue, requiring either diplomatic agreement or military action with bunker-buster bombs. Both Donald Trump and Israel seek a decisive victory in this challenge. Donald Trump's approach creates uncertainty, affecting international relations and military strategy. His actions influence both the perception and potential outcomes of U.S.-Iran tensions. The use of bunker-buster bombs, like the GBU-57, is crucial for penetrating deep underground nuclear facilities in Iran. Understanding their function is vital for geopolitical discussions. Israel's capability to conduct strikes on Iranian nuclear sites heavily relies on U.S. support, particularly for the necessary advanced military technology. This dependency shapes the strategic landscape. The United States possesses a powerful bomb known as the mother of all bombs, which can penetrate deep into enemy territory. This bomb's unique capabilities make it a crucial asset for potential military actions involving Israel and Iran. The bomb was last used in 2017 during combat in Afghanistan, showcasing its effectiveness in modern warfare. Its application raises questions about its potential use in current conflicts. Israel currently lacks the necessary stealth bombers to deploy this bunker-buster bomb, highlighting its dependence on U.S. military support for operations against Iran. The conversation touches on the broader geopolitical implications, including the ongoing missile alerts in Israel and the potential responses from the U.S. and Iran amid rising tensions.
Happening. Trump says may attack, may not attack. This is your first important update to know. We'll bring up the second one now on your screens because you have different world capitals also responding. What has Iran said earlier? Iran has said we are not surrendering because we are not afraid of America, is what Iran has made absolutely very clear. This brings us to our third update. You also have Iran saying that the real battle has begun now. So does this mean that this is a no-holds-barred battle, and is Iran now willing to go out full throttle? Indication says absolutely yes. What is the Russia angle to this entire story? Russia has warned US against helping Israel. And this tells you where does Russia stand in this entire war. This brings us to our fifth important war update. Putin has offered to mediate. He says, I can have a conversation between the two sides, Iran and Israel. And we all know which side is Putin actually backing. Then you also have UK that has spoken on the entire issue. In fact, the UK Prime Minister has chaired an emergency Cobra meeting. Do remember just about yesterday it was Donald Trump in the Situation Room. You also have UK now deciding what they need to do in case it's a full-blown escalation, a full-blown war. This brings us to our next big update that you will see on your screen. This is about the fight on ground. What is happening as we speak? Israel has hit Iranian internal security headquarters. Again, this is a claim that is being made, and you're looking at a lot of these claims versus counterclaims. Which side today has an edge? No one knows, but this is an unprecedented situation. This brings us to our eighth important war update now that you see on your screens. Iran's hypersonic missiles have launched their attack on Israel. And a lot now depends on the firepower. What could happen in the last few hours? The ninth update that you see on your screens, about 40 Iranian missile infra have also been attacked. Clearly, the situation does not look good as far as this is concerned. And this is the 10th important update that you must know, that Israel's cyber attack has already crippled Iranian banks. So this is a story that is moving in real time. You have very dramatic images also coming in of the escalation and much more. But we spoke about Donald Trump because Trump is where this story will begin now. And Trump could actually change this collision that is happening between Iran and Israel. So sit back and take the next few seconds to understand that Donald Trump, who was in the Situation Room, versus the Iranian Supreme Leader who says, we are not scared of you. You go and do whatever you want. And Iran has also, in fact, said that we will ensure that there is a retaliation. They have warned Israel. These are the important reactions that have come in from Iran, in fact, through the day, and they say we are not going to surrender. This is in response to what Trump initially had said and called for an unconditional surrender. They also say we'll stand against the imposed war. So they believe this is a war that has been thrown on them. They never wanted this war, but this is Israel and we will not get back. Let's bring in more details. Israel has made a huge mistake, is against something that Iran has asserted in the last few hours, going on to also say that Israel is going to be punished. In spite of the US getting into this conversation, Iran saying we are not getting back. Even the US intervention, they say, will cause damage. Damage to whom? Damage at what scale? These are important questions that you must know about. Likewise, they say the US should threaten those who fear them because we are not one of them. Now we'll sit back and watch and in fact hear what Donald Trump has said. He was asked specifically the questions about Iran doubling down on America, and also when people want to know what is going to be Trump's next move.
Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it would you please inform us so we can be there and watch? I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before? All this death and destruction. Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? And at the end, last minute, they said, no, we're not going to do that. And they got hit. Remember 60 days? And then came the 60. 61 is going to become a very famous number. Really, nothing's too late.
Have the Iranians reached out to you?
Yes.
And what did you say?
I said, it's very late. You know? I said, it's very late.
So Trump says it is late, but still you can have a conversation. So this is Trump in his own ways. And remember, on the show, we will also tell you how the US has increased its deployment, how they have moved a lot of their war carriers into the zone, and what could that mean? And also, what is the cost of this war? But before I do that, I also want to speak of a very important aspect here. That is the Saddam Hussein parallel. What is that parallel? And why has Israel spoken about this? And why has Israel warned Iran that in case you do not back off, in case you do not go for a deal, you might meet the same fate as Saddam Hussein, who again was a quote-unquote brutal dictator. Let's listen into that warning.
באתי לכאן כדי לחזק את תושבי הרצליה ולהעביר מסר ברור לדיקטטור מטהרן, חמינאי. אם תמשיך לבצע פשעי מלחמה ולירות טילים לעבר האוכלוסייה האזרחית בישראל, גורלך יהיה בדיוק כגורלו של הדיקטטור במדינה השכנה לאיראן, שידוע בדיוק איך הוא סיים. אנחנו לא נאפשר לפגוע באזרחי ישראל, וידנו הארוכה משיגה ותשיג את כל מי שאיים על מדינת ישראל.
So what is this parallel all about? Let's quickly rejog your memory and also look at what happened with Saddam Hussein in those final moments. In fact, these are just 5 blows to help you understand. The year, look at this very, very carefully, because in this, you could have an answer to where this war is headed. The year was 2003, and this is when US decides to invade Iraq. Baghdad falls very, very fast. It just took them a matter of some weeks. Then what happens? You have the iconic image of that icon falling. Remember the statue that just comes toppling down after you have these citizens and the US forces that ensure that that symbol of the dictator is pulled down. And also 2 of his sons are killed by the US forces. So this is just a build-up to that escalation. Then in December of 2003, you have Saddam Hussein, who's literally found in a spider hole. It was that kind of a hole. It was that tiny. And the US forces, they discover him there. He's pulled out. And the next, in the year 2005 is where he's tried for the Dujail massacre. And this is again where you had a number of people losing their lives, and you have a court listening into the entire matter, and there is a sentence that comes in. And this brings us to our next important detail, where in 2006, Saddam Hussein is executed by hanging. The end of his Raj, the dictator Raj. The end of that brutal Raj that he was famous for, his regiments. So when you have right now Israel making that comparison, and these pictures are important for you to see, and we'll run these pictures also full frame for a moment to just get that impact on your face as far as the story is concerned. One Saddam Hussein, known for being completely outlandish, known for a lot of those brutalities, a lot of those war crimes. You have the US that decides to eliminate him. How did that happen? I just told you. Those last few years of the man called Saddam Hussein, do they hold a key to what could happen with the Iranian Supreme Leader in case he does not back off? There are dramatic images that we all remember of what happened of that downfall when the statue was also pulled away, and that execution, in fact, when that happened, and that one iconic picture of Saddam Hussein clearly looking down and out. This is that picture where he was captured. He was captured by the US forces. Remember, I just said that rat hole. And then this is that final moment of that execution. Why has Israel raked up this reference right now? Is there a larger messaging to this? That no matter how supreme you believe that you are, but you could meet the same fate. These are chilling details. At this point, I also want to introduce someone very special who's joining us right now. We have Robert Shapiro, who's a professor of political science. Robert, thank you for your time. And as we were looking at this story, a lot of these developments. Before you speak about anything else, I want you to speak about these two pictures on your screens. Saddam Hussein and the current Iranian Supreme Leader. And why has Israel made this parallel at this point in time? Do we know what could be up Israel's mind?
Well, I can only speculate. The reason they're making that kind of juxtaposition is to, one, scare the Ayatollah, and two, provoke and motivate the Iranian people to rise up against their dictators. But I think this situation really is very different. What happened in Iraq, you had things going on there with the presence of American troops on the ground. You had the occupation going on there, and American forces were there to basically back up the Iraqi people. But remember, keep in mind, the Iraqi people were split along religious lines, and Hussein had his supporters as well as his opponents there. And I think I find this distracting from the key things going on here. The key things going on here, I think rightfully what you said about Donald Trump is critical as to what's going on here. And then there are other realities that I could talk about further that are much more important than this.
Interesting that you speak about Donald Trump. And Robert, just allow me a moment, because I want to widen the story, widen the scope, and also because we've spoken about Saddam Hussein and the reference. What we'll also tell our viewers is that why today you have US, why do you have Israel speaking about Iran in such a tone and tenor? And what really is this larger threat we are talking about? These are graphics and details that we'll take here on our screens. Now, when you talk of the Iranian Supreme Leader, why is he seen as a threat? Look at these details. Supreme control. Supreme Leader equal to supreme control. Supreme control of what? He wields absolute power over Iran's military, the judiciary, and the nuclear policy. This is important about the nuclear policy. This brings us to a second important detail. There are huge, serious, dangerous nuclear ambitions that Iran today has. They oversee an aggressive nuclear program here where you see the US and Israel looking as a threat. And not to forget the terror proxies. They support groups like the Hezbollah, the Hamas, the Houthis across the region. And clearly this is something that a lot of world powers don't like. And Robert, I want you to come in here quickly on how you have seen Iran operating, what has been the real trigger, the challenge to hegemony, and the Trump factor. Trump was asked a little while earlier about what he wants to do after Iran has doubled down on Trump. Now he says, I may go and attack, I may not go and attack. But I still think that there is this window of a dialogue, of a deal that can still be struck.
Okay, well, you've talked about a lot of things here. Now, the one critical thing with regard to the power of the Ayatollah and so forth, what's critical here for Israel and the United States are two things. One is ending the potential nuclear threat of Iran, getting rid of basically the nuclear materials. That's the first thing. And the second thing, in the best of all worlds for the U.S. and Israel, from the leadership standpoint, is getting rid of the current Iranian government and replacing it with a government that's no longer a threat to Israel in terms of nuclear threat, military threat, or a threat through its secondary actors, which include Hezbollah, Hamas, and basically terrorism against the United States and Israel. I think the first thing is easier. Getting rid of the nuclear threats is easiest because it could be done with one or more basically bunker buster bombs on Iran. So that's one aspect of this, and then the other aspect of this is the threats made by Donald Trump and so forth. In terms of what Donald Trump is doing what we've seen him do a lot. One is he creates uncertainty. he's going to do this, or he may not do that. He may do this, or he may not do that, and so forth. But here, you know, what he's talking about in terms of doing and not doing, he's really playing with fire here. And in terms of which way he might go on this, I mean, what Donald Trump wants and what Israel wants here is a win. And the win, the key thing to the win, is getting rid of the nuclear threat from Iran. Whether it's got to be done through an agreement where the Iranians agree to basically get rid of their nuclear material and not proceed along the lines to pursue a bomb, or secondly, if not that, dropping the bunker buster bombs on Iran.
Okay, Robert, you've spoken of the bunker buster bomb, and I think this is a great moment for our viewers to understand what this is, how does this work, and why is this so critical to the conversation right now. And I'm just going to come back to you in a moment because I want to get those details up on our screen now. And when you talk of the bomb, when you talk of what possibly is the end game of Netanyahu, remember, you've heard this, and we'll try to replay this a little slowly so that our viewers can understand what we are talking about. Can Israel hit Fordo? Now, we do know that this is one of those nuclear sites that is being discussed, spoken about again and again. This is the place, and this is a geopolitical map to help you understand where this could actually go. Now, can Israel do this alone? The answer is no. It will obviously need a lot of the US support. Now, Fordo is just about 80 meters underground, so it is beneath the ground, and this is the idea to give you a sense of what we are talking about. What are other details that you must know as far as this particular enrichment plant is concerned? You will need an American GBU 57 bunker buster. Now, this is important, and whenever you will be speaking about this nuclear targets that possibly could be hit, Iran versus Israel, two very important words for you to remember is GBU 57 bunker buster. What is it? I will tell you that in just a moment, but this is something that can be used, the only bomb in the world that can be used that possibly has the capability to strike this facility. You also, for this, you need the US B-2 stealth bombers that are used to drop the GBU 57. So the GBU 57 is a bunker buster that is going to be dropped. It is airdropped on this facility, and that can be done again with just one stealth bomber that again the US has. The bunker buster range is approximately 60 meters, and that is why it is possible of causing a lot of this damage deep inside this facility in case the US decides to use this. And I must tell you this, the United States of America is the only country that has this bomb today. Israel does not have this, it does not have the technology, and that is why they need the US support to be able to get into this option. But what is a bunker buster bomb? That is the next obvious question. So let's answer that for you. Now, this is just a dramatic representation of what this could actually look like. This, remember, is a stealth bomber, and then you have the GBU 57 that has been put in by our team here. But more details for you to understand what this could mean. It has a weight of close to about 13,600 kilograms of complete raw destruction. That is how powerful this bunker buster is. It could penetrate 61 meters deep before it goes down, and then there is a loud thud, it just explodes. Again, a bomb that is called the mother of all bombs. That is the word that is used for this particular bomb. Only the United States of America has this bomb. When was this last used? This is important. I'm sure you have a question on that mind. The answer is on your screens. When was this used earlier? This was used during combat in Afghanistan in the year 2017. This particular bomb that only the US has, and which could be a game changer as far as this conflict of Iran versus Israel is concerned. It can only be, remembered, dropped by the B-2 stealth bombers. B-2 stealth bombers are only configured to hold this, and unless and until you have that stealth bomber, you cannot use this bunker buster. So this means that there are two problems that Israel right now is facing. They don't have the bunker buster, they do not have this stealth bomber, and that is why US will possibly be the only answer to how you can have Israel attacking Iran and that particular facility. And clearly, when you're talking of such a huge bomb, I want to go back to Robert before this conversation and also tell you more about the US military presence in the Middle East. But Robert, as we've discussed, and I think this was a good moment for viewers to understand the capabilities that the US has and why does Israel need the US right now to be able to get into this war and the Fordo nuclear site. But is this a realistic situation? You think that both Iran and Israel are ready for this?
Yes, I think this is a very realistic situation. For one, the Israelis have established control over the Iranian airways, which allows planes to fly through basically at will and drop bombs and missiles and so forth. And this would enable the B-2 bomber to get there safely and drop the bomb. I mean, there's still a risk involved, but the opportunity is there because the Israelis have decimated Iranian air defenses. The alternative for Israel to get rid of the nuclear materials that are deep underground is through successive, basically bombing raids, dropping big bombs, but not big enough like the bunker buster bomb to destroy the site, but rather through successive bombings with smaller bombs getting through. Or the only other way for them to get to the nuclear materials, and this is the greatest risk, would be to send commandos in and to do it on the ground. And that's extremely risky, and the Israelis would much prefer the U.S. to drop the bunker buster bomb. And in terms of the threat here is real because, as I said, Donald Trump in the end wants a win here, and he can get it through negotiating and have Iran capitulating. This idea of an unconditional surrender, that is a ridiculous phrase. Donald Trump doesn't know what unconditional surrender is. Unconditional surrender means troops occupying the country like we did in Germany and Japan after World War II.
Yes.
But either getting through negotiations, the Iranians giving up the bomb, giving up the nuclear materials, or a successful bombing.
All right. I think, Robert, in the last few minutes, you've shared a lot of important insight into how this entire war conversation could be panning out. Thank you so much. We look forward to having you again on the News Night. But before we move on, my team tells me we have more breaking updates on the story that is developing thick and fast. And on your screens, you are reading more details of what really is happening. Remember, there is a missile alert in Israel as we speak. In fact, just a short while earlier, you have the IDF that has identified these missiles that were launched from Iran towards the territory of the state of Israel, is what they say. And what happens next is that you have the defensive systems that continue to operate. They're up in place. The idea is to intercept all this threat. And the IDF now says we've identified and destroyed them. There is no reason to panic. The public, they say, is instructed to enter a protected space and continue to remain there until further notice. So even as we speak, the skies are looking at these missiles that are being launched from both sides. And like I said, what will Donald Trump do next? Could he still hold the key to what could happen? And what about this Saddam Hussein and the Iran parallel? Could this mean that this is again going to be a very, very long night? NDTV, as always, will continue to keep you on top of the story with live updates and a lot more that you need.